Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Gautam's Cooking Adventure. Today, my wife is going to be the chef. Sandhya will be doing all the cooking, and I'm just going to be the one recording it. What she's going to make today is what's called Gobi Mutter curry, or Gobi Mutter Masala actually. It's basically sauteed cauliflower with peas. It's a very common Indian dish, and you can watch it while it's being cooked. We will also give you the ingredients as we go through it, so you'll know what to do and how much to use. So let's start with the ingredients. We have finely chopped tomatoes, which is basically 2 large tomatoes, 1 medium-sized red onion that's been chopped fine, some curry leaves, 2 chilies, green chilies that have been slit, about a cup and a half of frozen peas. It's in water right now for it to kind of defreeze. 1 large cauliflower that's been cut into edible sizes. And then for the masalas, we have, starting with this, which is Amchur, or otherwise dried mango powder. This is cumin powder. There's also cumin seeds. That is red chili powder, which is the Kashmiri chili powder. There's coriander powder. It's about a tablespoon of that. There's just a little bit of turmeric, a little more than a pinch. There's salt, and right now it's about a spoon of salt, but you may need to add based on your taste. And then there's the dried fenugreek or Methi leaves. We also have about 2 tablespoons of oil that's being heated in a pan, and we'll start the cooking now. There's cumin seeds. It'll cook for about 20 seconds, just enough for it to start giving out its flavor. That's followed by cumin powder, also just for about 15 seconds, just to give out the flavor. Followed by the chopped onions. The chilies and the curry leaves. Now they're all going to be fried, allowed to fry till the onions turn brown. They cook in the oil. We're adding just a little bit of salt to allow the onion to cook faster. As you know, salt makes the onion sweat, and the oil helps it to cook as well. The onion has cooked, turned color, and now it's ready for the tomatoes to be put in to cook in the same mixture of oil and onions. Give it a nice swirl and let the tomatoes cook. Now at this point in time, we're also adding some of the masalas. The turmeric powder has gone in first. The chili powder. The coriander powder. Remaining salt. Again, remember that the salt helps the tomato also to give out the water within itself. We want the tomato to nicely cook, almost become a bit of a almost a puree. The tomatoes will continue to keep cooking till the skin gets wrinkly, the tomato becomes mushy, and the oil begins to separate from the mixture. That's when we know it's ready for the rest of the ingredients. Just a quick check-in. As you can see that the tomato has started to disintegrate. So as you can see that the tomato has completely disintegrated, the oil has started to separate. It's now ready for the next phase of the cooking. At this point in time, the stove has been reduced to a medium flame. It was cooking on a medium to high flame earlier to this. First thing that goes in is the peas because they need to cook. It takes a little longer for the peas to cook as compared to the cauliflower that cooks really fast. So as the peas are cooking, we've increased the stove to between medium and high again. The reason we reduced it down to medium was so the tomato did not overcook while the peas were being added to it. And now we need it to cook at a higher heat temperature. Seems like we might need more salt. Like I said, it's always good to put less salt in the beginning and then add as you want. So, tasting it from time to time is a good idea. We've added about a teaspoon of salt again into the mixture. What we want to have at this point of time is that this mixture is slightly more salty than you would want it to be at the final product. The reason being that when you add the cauliflower will also take away some of the salt. And so you need to compensate for that. So as the peas are cooking, we're getting the cilantro leaves ready for the garnishing. This mixture has been cooking for about 7 minutes now, and it's almost ready at this point of time for the next ingredient. Now, a quick tip to the viewers on this video. We've used Kashmiri chili powder, not the regular chili powder, because it gives color, the red color, but it's not as spicy or hot as the regular chili powder would be. So it's a good blend of color and spice. We notice we've not used a lid to cover and cook the peas. The reason because if it's closed and covered, the peas lose their color, and we like to maintain the green color of the peas, so it's being cooked on an open pot. Another quick tip, because we're using frozen peas and we had to thaw it before we started the cooking, frozen peas tend to take longer to cook. Another test of this peas, all I'm doing is pressing down and it broke more easily. So this is perfect, just right for us to start cooking the next component, which is the cauliflower. Add the cauliflower into the mix. And now turn it around till all of the spices, the tomato mix is completely coated all of the cauliflower. The cauliflower is nicely coated with the masalas. It's now time for it to cook. We're just going to cover it and keep it on a flame that is at medium, and allow it to cook in its own the liquid that comes out of the cauliflower. Now the cauliflower has a lot of water within itself, so as it cooks it's going to start giving out water, and that is enough to cook this. Now some people do add water for cooking this. It makes it faster, but the reason we don't do it in this case is because we want the cauliflower to remain crisp, not get mushy. That adds to the that crunch makes it so much nicer to eat. So it's covered now. We're going to allow it to cook probably about 5 minutes. It's been about 5 minutes, and we're going to have to check to see how it's cooking. So we're going to just give it a quick shake, turn it around, get some of the stuff from below to come up, and that way they don't burn in the bottom. And we're going to go back to covering it and cooking it for a little longer. It's been about 4 minutes since we last checked. We're going to recheck it again to see how it's cooking. As you can see, it's a little more wet. the stems are more translucent than they were in the past. This is where one can take a decision as to how crisp they want their gobi or the cauliflower to be. Some like it crisp, some like it not as crisp. So we're just going to, at this point of time, decide, how one wants to do it. In our case, we'd like it to be just a little more cooked, and so we're going to put it back on a covered pan and wait for it to cook maybe a couple more minutes. A quick test just to see if it's cooked is kind of pressing it down, on the cauliflower, and see if you can get your ladle through and it breaks. Now, when it breaks, if the inside is also translucent, then it might be okay for it to stop now. Now, we will be adding the leaves, the dried leaves, at the end of the cooking. But before we do that, we're going to do a couple of things. One is we're going to take this, put it in the microwave, and just let it cook for about 20 seconds. That will make it easier for us to crush it into a finer powder form before we actually add it in along with the dried mango powder. While we're still cooking the dish, we have taken the fenugreek leaf. We just microwaved it for 20 seconds. As you can see, if we change the dish, that it's in to a microwavable dish, and now it's ready to be powdered. Manually, all you do is just that and powder it over. You can see it's broken down into nice powder, which is what we will use now. It's been about 6 minutes since our last check, and we're opening this to recheck. As you notice, there's a lot more of liquid in the bottom now. The cauliflower has cooked well. The stems look nice and translucent. It's just about ready. We've also changed the setting on the stove to a medium to high flame. The idea is to try and get rid of the liquid that's accumulated at the bottom, just making this a little more of a drier mix. As you notice that the liquid is all gone from the bottom, there's no liquid anymore, and now the cauliflower is ready for its final step. It's now ready for the Kasuri Methi or the Fenugreek leaf, dried leaf that we just crushed a moment ago, and it will be followed by the dried mango powder, the Amchur. Give it a quick swirl, let it mix in nicely. At this point in time, you might want to also check if the salt is okay, if you want. Otherwise, you can always add just a little bit of salt while you're mixing it in, and then your dish is ready to be served. The dish is ready. We've switched the stove off. At this point in time, the only thing that's left is for us to plate it and then garnish it with the cilantro leaves, fresh cilantro leaves that we cut earlier. As you can see, we've transferred the dish, the Gobi Mutter, into a bowl, and we're now going to garnish it. And there you go. There's your ready-made Gobi Mutter Masala. Have fun eating. See you at the next time. Please subscribe and press the bell icon so you're notified of all of our future episodes. Thank you for watching. Bye.